remember all those complaints I had about a certain magical index? Well, a certain scientific Railgun, which is a spin-off of that series, addresses all the problems I had. The main character this time is the side character from Index, Makoto Misaka, aka Railgun. Season 1 takes place somewhere between the first arc of the main series, and Season 2 is everything after that. There's even recycled footage from the main series that they use here, but to its advantage. If I had any complaints about this series in particular, it would be that Season 1 kinda feels a little bit slow and doesn't really understand what it wants to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's an underlying arc, like a really underlying arc, but it's a good arc, and it actually has a really surprising twist. Everything picks up during Season 2 though. I'm not telling you to not watch Season 1, because Season 1 is pretty good. It introduces some really interesting characters that may come up in Season 2, so you never know. Now you've met most of the main cast in a certain magical index, so I'm assuming you've seen that. And Railgun feels like we're seeing another part of a certain magical index that we didn't see in the main series. You know, certain stories are starting to come together, especially during Season 2. There's especially a lot more heart in this series, including the fact that the majority of the main cast are female characters. So no awkward humor can arise that makes us uncomfortable. Something the main series kind of overdid. There's also this sexual humor going on with this girl trying to fill up Makoto constantly. However, she is a sexual deviant who was always punished for her violation of personal space. You know, it's cathartic. Unlike in Index, where our main character is punished for something that wasn't his fault. And they know it wasn't his fault, but he's punished anyway. Of course, we get a lot of character development from characters we never would have gotten character development from the main series. Mainly because this series focuses more on science than the previous series focused on magic. Hence the two contrasting titles. Also, Makoto just works better as a main character, and Toma works way better as a side character. Because Makoto has a lot of quirks and personality to him, where Toma doesn't really have any particular type of quirk, he's just some guy. And he's always just tagging along on missions, and Makoto takes initiative. This series is doing his character far more justice than the main series, because the main series doesn't really do much with his character. And there's a lot to be said about a character if he doesn't do much, if he's a side character. And this point is emphasized in Season 2 when we get to the Clone Sisters arc. Now, of course, the emotions that are felt in this are only earned if you've actually seen a certain magical index to know Toma. I mean, in this series you meet him a couple of times, but not to the point where you think he's a deserving full-on character of his own. And that's what I mean when I say that this series works better when you watch them as a whole. So don't watch one without watching the other one. Because we're getting another half of the story, as well as seeing that story from another perspective. And thus, the themes change. And also, all characters in this show go through arcs. There's this side character who comes off as the bully type, but in the end she actually does pull through as a pretty interesting character that you root for. And most importantly, she is introduced and not perceived as useless throughout the rest of the series. Now, of course, everything's not perfect. I mean, some episodes feel like filler content, even though it's not supposed to feel that way. But if I skip an episode and don't regret doing that for the rest of the season, it's probably filler. And this is omniprevalent in Season 1, where, I skipped 4 episodes halfway in. You'll know the ones I'm talking about. There's also generic evil person and military officers taking orders from children. Also, this show's lore is operating by a somewhat different set of rules than the main series, where everything was magic-based. This is all tech-based. So the animation kind of feels somewhat cheap in certain spots, but hey, it's not lazy. And it's all the more done so they can actually ramp up a really, really well-animated climax. Is this series more superior than the main series? Yes. Because we don't have a main character who's bland and boring, we have a character who's colorful and outgoing, and takes the initiative when it comes to conflict, and not dragged around because everybody there really, really needs her. As a matter of fact, it's quite emphasized that nobody really wants her there, but she's going there anyway. Actually, that might be another flaw, because since Toma's a character that they actually need, and they persistently take him along because his powers are useful, as to where in this series, Misaka's powers are incredibly useful, and yet nobody actually wants to take her along. Yeah, I'm not buying that. But you know what? I'll take this one over the main series. The main series is not bad. Matter of fact, it's good. But you know what? This one does what that was trying to do way better. So yeah, give Railgun a watch. Pick up the DVDs. Read the anime. Read the novels. And when is that Accelerator anime coming out?